Breaking news, caffeine has escaped the CDC. Reporting live in Snowville, we are here to give you live action reports on the situation. How does caffeine work, you might ask? Well, let's start with the basics. Neurons are messengers that use impulses and chemical signals to relay information to the brain's various parts and the rest of the nervous system. These neurons interact with neurotransmitters in order for your brain to transmit to the body that you are tired. The neurotransmitter adenosine is activated. Caffeine's molecular structure is similar to adenosine and can therefore bond to its receptor, blocking adenosine from transmitting signals of exhaustion. This means that caffeine tricks your brain thinking you're not tired. Because the adenosine can't bind to its receptors, it instead moves freely, leading to increased brain activity, which the pituitary gland notices. In turn, the gland secretes adrenaline. Caffeine also affects one more neurotransmitter, dopamine receptors. Caffeine actually increases the amount of dopamine by blocking the reabsorption of it into the body. Keep in mind, it doesn't increase the amount of dopamine produced, but instead slows the rate at which it enters the body, leading to elevated levels of dopamine for a short period of time. Now over to our team outside. Take it away, Michael.
Thanks, Zane. As you can see, the drug spreads throughout the brain and the effects take place. When people drink coffee, chocolate, energy drinks, etc., it gets to the brain and neurons are activated. Once this happens, dopamine releases. The drug is spreading throughout society and is ensured to be a trap. As you can see in the background of someone drinking coffee, a chemical reaction is occurring that is impacting the receptors in the brain. These receptors bind to the adenosine that's created in the brain. The binding causes drowsiness by slowing down nerve cell activity in the brain. While consuming caffeine daily, your nerve cells move faster and your blood vessels constrict. Adenosine is blocked, and this results in headaches and lack of sleep. When neurotransmitters that activate pleasure, happiness, like drugs like cocaine, which have high levels of caffeine, manipulate your brain and overall decreases the level of dopamine. This leads to depression and lack of motivation. Now, after this short commercial break, we'll be live with your news regarding this outbreak.
Have you ever been tired in the morning and you've only gotten about 3 or 5 hours of sleep? Well, let me tell you why. Caffeine causes short-term memory loss. By taking in the caffeine, it affects a chemical in your brain which is called adenosine. Without that chemical, you're not able to get enough sleep. And you need about 8 to 10 hours of sleep each night. Doctors recommend do not take caffeine before you go to sleep. Probably take a walk, drink tea, play a repetitive game to have your brain calm down, and then you can go to sleep after that. Without getting enough sleep, your brain will experience something called chronic sleep deprivation. When you have chronic sleep deprivation, it causes diabetes, heart failure, stroke, and it can evidently just lead to death. And you don't want that to happen, so I suggest just not consuming any caffeine before you go to bed. Okay, so caffeine affects a part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex, and that basically helps you with impulsive reactions. So when someone tries to punch you or you're doing something that's quick, that's what it affects. So by taking in caffeine, it kind of speeds it up and sometimes slows it down, and it's not at a good rate. So what you don't want to do is take in too much caffeine, because then if your brain is going extremely fast, you're not going to be able to do anything correctly. And if you're going too slow, then you're simply going too slow. So I do not recommend taking caffeine at all.
Let you all know the basis of caffeine and how it works. Let me tell you all why it's dangerous. Caffeine can cause short-term memory loss, meaning you forget things quicker than usual. The reaction time to certain events has sped up immensely in addition to the memory loss. Caffeine also blocks adenosine, a substance that relaxes your blood vessels. This substance is also a part of you going to sleep, and caffeine makes it harder to sleep. If you want 8 to 10 hours of sleep each night, I recommend not consuming caffeine. By getting little to no sleep, you can experience chronic sleep deprivation. This can lead to heart failure, diabetes, stroke, and even death. If you want to catch some Z's, doctors prescribe low lights, playing a repetitive game, drinking a cup of tea, and taking a walk. Caffeine isn't our friend, so do not partake in it and ruin your brain. Thank you all for your time, and please be on the lookout for caffeine.